Monica, you want to start recording? Thank you. We'll get started.
All right. Well, good morning. Good morning and welcome everyone to our, excuse me, November public session. We have a pretty full agenda with updates, and I'm going to turn it over and get started right away, turning it over to Shalimar Thomas, the chairperson.
Thank you, Kia. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the Philadelphia Commission of Human Relations public session for November 19th, 2021. Can we start with the approval of meeting minutes? It's going to be that type of morning for me, guys. I'm just saying, preparing you. Are any corrections? No, I don't see anybody waving their hands in the air. So no corrections noted. I move that we accept the minutes, and they are submitted into the record. Next up are cases recommended for closing. I'm going to read through the cases and then ask if there are any recusals. All right, the cases recommended for closing are as follows. Under employment, we have Joseph Rausch versus School District of Philadelphia. We have Daniel Collins Colwart versus American Renal Associates LLC and the Dialysis Center of West Philadelphia LLC. Sabrina Bess Morrison versus City of Philadelphia. Dennis Freeman Jr. versus School District of Philadelphia. Mary Powell versus City of Philadelphia. Rosie Thomas versus Yellowbird Bus Company Incorporated. Alexander Fromm versus Beacon Hill Staffing Incorporated. Michelle B. DiRamondo versus Marikey. Desiree N. Staten versus Macy's. Shalom Robertson versus Fairfield Inn and Suites. Hakima Ponce versus Belmont Behavioral Hospital. Laura L. Sweet versus St. Peter's School. Anthony Accardo versus Stake 48. Under housing, we have Valerie Duncan versus Lincoln Court Realty LLC. Gary Collins versus Help at Home, formerly Excel Home Care. Gerard Franklin versus Community College of Philadelphia. Under Ban the Box, we have Bonita Harmon versus Uber Technologies Incorporated. Are there any recusals?
Yes, I need to recuse from one case, which was against the City of Philadelphia, and the claimant was particularly dealing with the homeless agency. And my apologies, I do not remember the name of that case. I just asked Pam if she might remember the name of that case. But actually, Adnan, you were also, who else was a reader? It was Adnan, me.
It's Sabrina Morrison versus, sorry to interrupt, but
Oh,
Sabrina Morrison.
Sabrina Morrison. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I couldn't remember the name, but I need to recuse from that. Other than that, I have no recusals.
Thank you. Noted.
Can I ask the name of the counsel, if there was a counsel in the Harmon case, which is the Ban the Box case? Is it Community Legal Services?
I think Pam was saying no.
No? Okay, then I don't have any recusals either.
Okay, so the one recusal has been noted and there's no others. So with that, can I have a motion to accept the cases? I see motion by Commissioner Alpert and I see second by Commissioner Austin. All in favor? I see everyone's hands up. Cases closings for the month of November have been accepted. Thank you. With that, I would like to turn the meeting over to Kia for the Executive Director's report.
Thank you. I have just a few updates. I will begin with the legislative update. As many of you know, for the last couple of months, we have been working on regulations for protections for transgender and gender nonconforming youth. We submitted our proposed regulations to the law department, and upon receiving approval from them, we will submit the regulations to the Department of Records for public inspection to determine if there is a request for a public hearing. In the meantime, Deputy Director Pam Gwaltney and myself have met with members of Councilmember Gim's office to begin discussions and strategize regarding a rollout plan. In the next few weeks, we will be meeting with stakeholders to develop consensus around compliance with the regulations. The next update is related to the Renters Access Act, which became effective October 13th of 2021. On November 1st, Deputy Director Pam Gwaltney and myself met with stakeholders representing landlords, realtors, and apartment associations to discuss concerns that they had regarding ambiguity in the law and to provide clarification regarding our enforcement posture. Over the next few months, we will continue to invite public discussion and comments so that we can monitor, any concerns to determine whether regulations are necessary. Lastly, in terms of a legislative update, the Residential Property Wholesalers Bill became effective in January of 2021. Philadelphia was one of the first major cities to enact such legislation, which targets residential property wholesalers who often use high-pressure solicitation tactics to target Black and Brown communities facing gentrification. I met with members of Councilmember Dom's legislative team, as well as Community Legal Services, to discuss the status of our agency's enforcement of the bill, specifically as it related to the do not solicit list. The do not solicit list is a list wherein homeowners can contact us and indicate that they do not wish to be contacted by agents. And once they're on the list, they are protected from harassment by wholesalers who continue to try and contact them. Over the next few weeks, we will be meeting with web developers to create a web-based form and ensure that residents have easy access to the form, and that there are also other methods for them to call and indicate that they do not wish to be contacted. We will likely need to develop regulations for this legislation, specifically because it requires a lot of intergovernmental collaboration in order for the law to be effective. In terms of compliance, on October 28th, Deputy Director Pam Gwaltney and myself met with leadership at Goodwill Industries of Southern New Jersey and Philadelphia to discuss the Fair Criminal Record Screening Ordinance and its requirements in anticipation of their Latinx Finance Training Program. That's a program that they created to connect their program participants and community members to careers in banking and finance. On November 2nd, we submitted our 3-year contract renewal and work sharing agreement to the EEOC, and we are awaiting execution of that contract. On November 4th, Deputy Director Pam Gwaltney and Principal Attorney Karen Foreman facilitated a training regarding the various civil rights protections of the Fair Practices Ordinance and the Renters Access Act for veterans at the VA. In terms of prevention and education, on October 18th, Deputy Director Randy Duque participated in a joint meeting arranged by Citizens Diplomacy International, along with the Police Advisory Commission to host law enforcement delegates from Germany. During that meeting, Randy spoke on the city's efforts to improve community police relations. On October 20th, Deputy Director Randy Duque participated in the U.S. Attorney's Office Asian Community Safety Initiative, which was a town hall event in collaboration with the Philadelphia Chinatown Development Corporation, the police department, and our office to discuss public safety and the Asian community with the purpose of building understanding and trust with local Chinese and other Asian communities regarding hate and bias incidents. HR Representative Abigail Sue assisted in coordinating dialogues, conversation to discuss Chinese American males and first-generation immigrant parents, and talk specifically about biracial half Chinese families and parenting. During the week of November 1st, HR Representatives Tiara Thomas and David Oliver conducted a presentation for the United Block Captains Association and will follow up with additional trainings on conflict resolution as necessary. On November 14th, HR Representative Boonrat Mat provided information about our agency at an Indonesian mural unveiling and celebration at the Mural Arts program in South Philadelphia. This is the first in a series of murals that will highlight the AAPI community in the city. Finally, the entire community relations team has been connected with the School District of Philadelphia through their regional school safety community meetings. These meetings are a partnership with community and business groups and public safety services, as well as school officials, and they are held throughout the city in 6 different divisions. In terms of conflict responses, as some of you may have been made aware, on November 17th, there was a violent and disturbing attack on Asian students in from Central High School who were riding the Broad Street subway line. Deputy Director Randy Duque has been working closely with SEPTA Transit Police, the police department, as well as leadership in the school district to develop a coordinated response plan. Our law enforcement partners are working hard to investigate the incident. It is our understanding that individuals involved in the assault have been identified and charged by the district attorney's office. We will work with the school district officials to connect victims to resources and continue to provide support to the AAPI community throughout this process. We will also work with the school district to mediate any intergroup conflicts that may arise. We encourage anyone who is a victim of a hate crime or hate incident, a hate crime, to call the police department. We also encourage you to report non-emergency acts of hate or bias to our office by calling our main number or our hotline. You may also report through our website. In other noteworthy conflict responses, our HR Representative David Alpert is working with a charter school on policy and practice in the Northwest section of Philadelphia to address issues of inter-school student violence. Other noteworthy events for this reporting period are that on October 25th, we received notification that our proposal, which was submitted to the University of Pennsylvania's Bells Institute, was selected. The proposal seeks to examine racial disparities in Philadelphia's housing market and the home appraisal process. The project will identify best practices utilized by other municipalities to address discrimination in the home buying and home appraisal process. Finally, it will make strategic recommendations regarding how to best align our enforcement efforts with those that are employed federally to address inequities. The project will begin in January of 2022 and conclude with a written report and presentation in August of 2022.
Yeah, it
On-
looks like Karen has her hand up. Did you have a question about something?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to make an announcement after Kia is done.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
great.
Thank you. Sorry about that. On October 25th, I spoke at the Philadelphia Muslim Jewish Circle of Friends October meeting, sharing current information and data as it pertained to hate crimes and bias incidents involving members of the Muslim and Jewish communities here in Philadelphia. The Circle of Friends is a group of business and religious leaders who are committed to creating opportunities for dialogue and learning across differences in religion and ethnicities throughout our region. On October 27th, Deputy Director Randy Duque delivered a bias awareness training to the members' divisional leadership. The training was recorded for redistribution among the rest of the members as part of the Code of Conduct policy training that is required for participation in the Mummers Parade. He is also part of the joint committee with the Philadelphia Department of Parks and Recreation to review parade skits that may have cultural themes. While the city can only make recommendations and suggestions, the clubs have all been very receptive to feedback from the community. Lastly, on October 27th, Deputy Director Randy Duque participated as a panelist on the Philadelphia Bar Association CLE related to the state of race in the law, examining where we are now and moving forward. This month, there have been 5 incidents of hate reported to our agency, and of those, 4 were confirmed. Our next session is scheduled for our next executive session is scheduled for December 10th, and our public session will be held on December 17th. With that, I will turn it back over to you, Shalimar.
I'll turn it over to Karen to make her statement,
Oh,
her
I'm sorry about that.
announcement. That's okay.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to introduce Joy Rosenberg, who is attending our meeting today. She is an undergraduate, a senior at Drexel University, who's been interning with us under my supervision. She's been helping draft complaints for our agency. And I'd like to introduce Joy and welcome her to our meeting. She's been doing a terrific job, and just want to acknowledge her. So thank you, Joy. And perhaps we can go around and just people introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should be used to knowing who's a guest and who's a regular here. So I apologize for that. We certainly should do that. Joy, welcome. And it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Shalimar Thomas. I work with the Northborough Renaissance and also been with the commission for maybe 6 years now. I can never remember. So we could go around. Sarah, who you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, welcome, Joy. I'm thrilled that you're working here as an undergraduate. My name is Sarah Ricks. I'm a law professor at Rutgers Law School, and I have been on the commission for 12 years.
Thank you. And Sarah, I see your hand up. Do you want to make a comment or question after we finish intros? Okay. Commissioner Alpert.
Hi, Joy. I'm Rebecca Alpert. I teach at Temple University in the Department of Religion, and welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Loren.
Good morning. I'm Stephen Larin. I'm the Deputy Director at the Nationality Service Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Austin.
Hi, I'm Regina Austin. I teach at Penn Law School. And I can't remember how long I've been on the commission, but it's good to have young people involved. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being.
Commissioner Zulfikar.
Hi, hi. I'm a law professor over at Rutgers Law School, and I have been on the commission less than a year.
Thank you. And am I correct that she met the staff, or should we go?
No,
to
she
the
has
staff?
not met.
Oh, she has not. Okay.
We've been working virtually the entire time.
That makes sense. Matt, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Randy Duque, Deputy Director for the Community Relations Division. Nice to meet you, Joy.
Oh, did Matt hear me?
No.
Matt, can you hear me? Okay. Miranda,
Hi, Joy. I'm Miranda Branch, and I am a Human Relations Supervisor for the Compliance Unit, and I've been with the Commission for 4 years now. Nice to meet you.
Carla,
Hi, Joey. My name is Carla Costa Pizarro, and I'm the clerk for the compliance unit. And I've been with the commission for 7 years. Nice to meet you.
Pam,
Hi, Joy. Welcome, and thanks for the work you've done with us. I am Pamela Gwaltney, the Deputy Director of Compliance. I've been with the commission for about a little over 6.5 years. It'll be 7 in February. Welcome.
Pam, do you want to introduce Matt for her? So
Hey, Matt, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
Matt Cal. I'm the other supervisor in compliance. And I'm also the unofficial guru for the case management system. So if you have problems with that.
It's official. It's not unofficial. It is official. It's written.
Oh, no.
in stone.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Both he and
man.
Miranda, actually, Joy. He and Miranda are gurus.
Here you go. If you have problems, call the 2 M's, M&M.
Yes. And I haven't met you
Monica?
either, Joy. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did you?
No, I was just gonna say, I haven't met you either, Joy. I'm Kia Gee. I am the Executive Director. I've only been here for about 6 months almost at this point. I came here in June of 2021. And so I want to echo Pam's sentiments and thank you for what you've done so far. And I look forward to seeing you in the office soon.
Yeah, I was not going to forget you, of course. I was saving the best for last, but I didn't want to forget Monica either.
Oh, yeah. I thought she had gone. My mind.
Oh, hi, good morning, Joy. My name is Monica. I am Kia's secretary. I've been with the commission, it will be 10 years in January. So if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.
It looks like the M's are your go-to, Joy.
Yeah, I noticed that. Thank you everybody for introducing yourselves. It's so great to see everybody. I really enjoy my work with Karen and I'm learning so much. I'm so lucky to be able to be here as well.
Well, thank you so much and good luck with everything. And we appreciate you being here.
Of course.
And so Sarah, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'll just say this quickly first to Joy, and then I wanted to say something else. Joy, I don't know if you have any interest in going to law school, but if you do, something that a lot of college students do is come visit a class. And I wanted to extend an invitation. You're absolutely free to come visit one of my classes. I teach civil rights litigation. I teach other classes dealing with constitutional law. I also teach in the first year legal research and writing program. And sometimes that can be really fun because you could see pretend court oral arguments, but it's kind of entertaining.
That would be awesome.
very
I just
welcome.
submitted my application to Rutgers a couple of months ago. So
Well, you have 2 people here who will be very interested in that application.
of course, I'll send you guys an email, right?
Sure, absolutely. Feel free to do that. Yeah, and I'll let you know what my schedule is next year or next semester. I mean, it is next year, but next semester. And you're absolutely welcome to come to classes. My students love that. They love that, I think.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So the only thing I was going to say is before everybody joined the call today, Kia was sharing with us that she is going through a tumultuous and extremely difficult time in her life because very suddenly and tragically she lost her brother-in-law in a car accident. I guess you said last week or just a few days.
Monday.
Monday. Oh my
So
gosh.
sorry. So sorry to hear that, Kia.
So I wanted to share that with everybody because, you know, I lost a brother and it's just devastating. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. Our prayers are definitely with you and your family, Kia, and your sister, definitely. So sorry.
Thank you. Yes, it comes, like I said, it comes in waves because it's, you know, it's so sudden and, you know, unexpected that there's no way to prepare for it. And obviously there's no, you know, no good time to lose a loved one, but when they are suddenly ripped out of your life, it, you know, kind of just has a different feel to it. So thank you.
Yeah, it took me a year before those waves of grief where I would suddenly start crying about something, you know, started. So give yourself time. I mean, my goodness, this is just a few days ago and it's just devastating. And the fallout for your sister is, of course, going to be horrific.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
Commissioner Austin, did you have a question or comment?
First of all, I wanted to thank Kia for being on top of all these things. This has been a very, very busy time for the commission, and you've just done a wonderful job of getting your hands and arms around all of this. For those of us who have been on the commission for a while, we had the experience of dealing with the tumultuous situation at, I guess it was South Philadelphia High School. And it appears as if it's come around again, and this is all new to you, but I really appreciate how you and the rest of the commission are dealing with this. And then on top of that, you've suffered a personal loss, and it's had to have had some kind of impact on you, but you certainly didn't give any indication of it in terms of how you've been dealing with all the issues that have been coming at you. That said, the concern that I have with regard to the incident on the subway is that the young women, are they in school? Do they represent just the tip of an iceberg that we ought to be paying more attention to? I think it's very easy to demonize and criminalize the people who are engaged in this very public way, but I suspect that there is underlying it some kind of resentment with regard to our welcoming immigrants and what might seem to some segments of our city an unequal invitation for participation in our society through benefits, through attention that the groups that they belong to have not yet received. And that's particularly a problem given the spike in crime, gun crime in particular, and the pandemic leaving some parts of our community feeling as if they are forgotten and not getting the amount of attention and resources that they need. So I guess I'm wondering whether we need to remind people of where we were back when some of us got started on the commission, and if we don't need to step up our efforts to bring minority communities together. I noticed that there was a dinner at the Reading terminal. I don't know whether we were involved in that or not for Afghan refugees, and I don't know the extent to which other folks were invited or who was invited. But that's the kind of thing that I think Randy's division has been dealing with. And I guess I'm wondering whether we shouldn't think about stepping it up so as to deal with what is likely to be anti-Asian American bias from other segments of our community.
If I may, going backwards in what you said, Jared Solomon's office, actually, I did speak with him regarding that Reading Terminal Market event. It was basically, that was sort of what we wanted to happen. We wanted communities to start doing their own kind of breaking barriers. So because his district has a lot of Afghan, has the Afghan community pretty much, like he was working with Reading Terminal Market to do that. So I just consulted with him and they just went with it. So going back to this particular, it's so the investigation was still going on and there's a lot of people involved in this. So even before this, the city created a sort of an AAPI strategy group for the city offices to sort of coordinate efforts and basically strategies to in response to a lot of the growing AAPI hate nationally. So we're really going to be working a lot in partnership with these other organizations, with these other department agencies. Right now, Council Member Gim had a meeting yesterday regarding this incident, a virtual meeting that there was over 1,700 people who wanted to attend this. It was called for the last second and only 300 can get in nationwide. But basically she's talking about and trying to, if you know her background, she comes from community activism, but so she's trying to say that, the community sort of needs to take the lead in terms of the asks and like the strategies and then and not put the onus on the city. So there's different messages that are coming around from city council. We are, don't get me wrong, we are working with a variety of community groups. I have a couple people on staff who are monitoring what's being talked about within the communities. So at some point when things start sort of settling a little bit, we can work through it. But right now, everything's too hot to just jump in and do something.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And I understand Commissioner Austin's point too, about how do we look at this from both sides so we can get in front of it. And, I understand, I think I was looking at the news yesterday where the president of the Chinese Community Development Center, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Oh my goodness.
John Chen.
Yes. He reached out to the victim, and I was wondering if, what type of outreach is being done on the other side so we can prevent these things from happening, see what's going on, see why, these conflicts are happening in this way. And I know from a historical standpoint, there has always been rifts with schools, and the Broad Street line has always been a place where schools just want to fight each other. It's just like some culture. It's been the culture when I was going to school. It's been the culture for a long time. But this is a different level. I feel like it's something more going on. And to your point, Randy, I know it's still so fresh and new, and information is being gathered right now. But I would love for the PCHR just to stay on top of it and think about how are we looking at both sides, and thinking about how are we looking at the young ladies who did this and saying, well, what was going on? Like, how can we prevent that type of hate or bias or whatever is going on from overspilling and becoming something violent? How do we get in front of it?
Yeah, trust me. My staff and I are trying to push that message out there too, because we're fighting back people who are trying to make it a divisional, divisive thing. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I see our commissioners' hands are up. I think Commissioner Alpert was first, Ricks, and then Zulfikar.
Hi, I just wanted to follow up on on Regina's question about whether these were central students. I mean, do we know where they came from? Because I think, again, not immediately, but in the long term, it will determine a lot about what kind of response we want to give, whether it is like the South Philly situation, whether we want to reach out to the leadership at Central, or whether there's something, as Shalimar was just saying, about what goes on the Broad Street line, which she's right, this is not an isolated incident. There's just a lot of kids getting on each other for a variety of different reasons. So I'd just like to know more about that, Randy, if you had information yet.
I think the news reported this morning, and also the principal of Girls High issued a statement saying that these were not Girls High students and that everybody was a Central student.
No. All right. Let me clear this up now.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to clear this up. I can't say what schools, because I don't know if the other school has been reported, but I can say that the victims were the targeted students were from Central High School. They didn't know each other because they're from different schools. I don't believe there's any school competition with each other from what it looks like. But yes, the youth offenders were not from Girls High, which was part of what was going around in the community. So people were just saying they're from Girls High. They were not from Girls High. They're from a different school. I can't really say where at the moment unless it comes
They're
out.
not from, to clarify, they're not from Central either.
Nope, they're not from Central.
Right.
I already did reach out to Central. I'm still waiting back to hear from them in terms of everything that's going on. But yeah, this is not some kind of beef that's like what we've been seeing with other youth incidents. This is sort of completely like, from what it sounds like, it's really solely about being targeted for being Asian.
Commissioner Briggs.
So for those of a lot of the commissioners were, and maybe some of the staff were not on the commission in 2011, but in 2011 there was intergroup conflict in the South Philadelphia High School, and rather than just look at that issue as simply, between two groups, African-American students, and I think it was pretty much relatively recent immigrants, mostly Southeast Asian, who were the targets of that violence. Some of you may or may not remember that the Asian students actually had a strike and refused to go to school because they did not feel safe. So rather than react to that as simply one group against one other group, the Commission on Human Relations spent an entire year doing public hearings on intergroup conflicts in the public schools. We did 11 separate public hearings over the course of the year, and Rue Landau and the staff set up an incredible series of people to testify, everything from young kids, junior high kids, high school kids, to experts in public education, sociologists, to the mayor, people who worked with kids in other settings, people who studied violence and criminal justice. It was a fascinating series of hearings. And the result of that was a report, which various of us remember differently, but as it went through 18 drafts, I remember that. And lots of those drafts were turned around quite quickly. It was a difficult process, but working with a draft that was originally, the first draft was done by an outside consulting agency who put together all of the transcripts and wrote up a first draft. And then every single one of the commissioners had a heavy hand in editing the report. So it might be helpful, I guess, Randy, and if that comes under your purview, to distribute the report to all of the commissioners who were not here in 2011. And of course, it would be useful for those of us who were, which is, I guess, is at this point, it's Rebecca, Regina, and myself. We're all here in 2011. It might be useful to reread the report. We had a whole series of recommendations. Unfortunately, the school district had a massive budget cut shortly thereafter. And so several of our recommendations were to expand existing positive programs. And in reaction to the budget cuts, some of those positive programs, such as a peer-to-peer mediation, were actually cut. That was a school funding issue. All of you know that Philadelphia school funding is currently on trial right now. That trial is happening. So the report was issued, but also there's a video which Regina and her team produced. And I don't know, Regina, how long that video is. Is it on the website or is it accessible somewhere else?
Yeah, it's on the website of the Documentaries in the Law program, and I will send you the link. It was made by 3 Asian American female law students, and it, I think, takes our own ways in it. And it takes, I think, a very balanced effort to kind of explain what was going on, looking at it from the sides of both the students who were assaulted and the students who did not engage in the assault, but who understood that there seemed to be inequities with regard to resource allocation in the school. And the person who was principal at the school is now, or at least the last I heard, was working for the school board and was an amazing person to come in and really get the school back on track. And yes, I will send that. We also did.
It looks
we
like
also
the,
did a.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
We also did a video that could be used to explain to the community what was in the report, and I think that the commission has that on its website. But if not, I'll try and find it.
And just to very briefly summarize some of the impact of this report, when we released the report, we did it at a press conference in the mayor's press office. The press conference was televised. It was covered by print and radio. The report was in return for getting the report the day before it was publicly released, the Philadelphia Inquirer published the conclusions of the report back when this used to mean something, above the fold in the newspaper. So it was the lead headline. And there was, frankly, there was a tremendous amount of publicity, and people took the recommendations seriously. I do want to follow up something Regina just mentioned, which was the person who was the principal of South Philadelphia High School at the time that the incidents of violence first came to public attention, was fired for a lot of reasons. And the replacement principal who Regina just referred to, I completely agree, an extraordinary person. I don't remember his name, but it gives
Otis
me
Hackney.
Otis Hackney, that's right. But it gives me great comfort to know he is now within the school district, because of all people, he would be probably the most expert in figuring out how do you take an institution that has just gone through this horrific situation, and what's happened, what this particular incident that we're hearing about is nowhere near the scale of what happened at South Philadelphia High School. But he did that crisis leadership and obviously was extremely successful at turning that school around. And I assume that's why he's been, promoted up the food chain and now is no longer a principal. But anyway, that was just a little bit of history, because not everybody was here in 2011 and might not understand what we're referring to when we talk about South Philadelphia High School.
Just to
Randy has a
clarify, Otis
comment.
Hackney, I'm sorry, just so it's because, we're recording it. Just to clarify, Otis Hackney is with the city's Office of Education, not the school district. Okay.
It's located inside the school district.
Oh, no, they're separate.
Okay.
Yeah, so So that, I mean, yeah, so like there's still, it's a coordinated effort because before the school district came back under the city, the mayor's office, stood up the Office of Education to help, with education issues. And then basically it's sort of a coordinated thing. So they work together. Don't get me wrong. It's just, he's not with the school district, he's with the city.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it and reminding us that we're being recorded. Commissioners.
And also, just before we go
Oh,
there,
I'm sorry.
I did drop the report in the chat, a PDF version, so that everyone can have a copy.
Thank you. And thank you. And can you also send it through email? I just realized with Zoom, when it's dropped in the chat after the Zoom, it's like, oh man, I forgot to get that link. So
yes,
if you can send it through email too, that would be great. Commissioners Alpert.
So I just had a couple questions, and Randy may know, but one, I was curious, which AAPI community were the victims from? Because sort of that classification is so broad that it oftentimes is meaningless to me. And so I'm just curious as to like, which community do we have a sense? I mean, are they Indonesian American or Chinese or Afghan or,
Could we just share what API means?
Asian American Pacific Islander?
Okay.
Right? So it covers all of Asia and the Pacific Islands, which again, there's a whole kind of critique of that, but I'm just curious as to if we have a sense of which particular community they're from.
Yeah, according to a lot of community conversation, Chinese and Indonesian.
Chinese and Indonesian. And then in terms of, I know they're on the Broad Street line, do we have a sense of, are they from similar neighborhoods, or were they like?
That I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about the offender and the offenders and youth, or the victims themselves, or
the victims and the suspects? Like, are they?
No, they're not from the same neighborhoods
or nothing like that. Okay, all right. Yeah, I was just curious about those because there are some interesting potential avenues as well in terms of community reconciliation that could also occur because if, for instance, one of the victims was Indonesian and one of the suspects is visibly Muslim, they're likely the Indonesian victim may also be from the Muslim community, and there may be some sort of avenues there in terms of community conversation between specific communities within each of those. So if you have that, because I found out about this morning because I got a text message from an African American imam in the city who was wondering what he could do and how he could be helpful in this way, etc. And so it may be an opportunity there.
Thank you for sharing that information. Commissioner Loren.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that as we think about addressing intergroup conflict again, that particularly this incident and other similar attacks against the AAPI community, that we take a wider lens, right? They're not all necessarily related to immigration issues, right? Asian American, Pacific Islanders are not all immigrants. We all know this. We have to remember that these conflicts often are about deeper issues as well. I mean, some of it can be about immigration issues, and we've got to keep that in mind as well. And I just want to make sure that as we talk about this too, that we're talking about possible perceptions that led to or that lead to crimes against immigrants too, about access to resources. Let's just be clear that the idea that immigrants in this country get more access to resources than native born doesn't stand up to any inquiry at all. It's not, there's so many public benefits denied to immigrants. Even looking at the report after the South Philly High School, some of those recommendations were about, look, there's no language access opportunities or not sufficient for immigrant communities to even address the complaints and the problems that they're having in the schools. And it hasn't been, tremendously improved over the years either. Those issues remain. So just as we talk about it, I think we have to be careful that if we're talking about possible perceptions, they're misperceptions as well, that may exist in communities that lead to this.
Thank you.
And I want to say that, you know, we don't, as Randy sort of alluded to, we don't want to get ahead of the DA's office or the police department in terms of what they are releasing publicly. So I think that we do need to say, however, that we are connected with the law enforcement agencies that we need to, the school district as well, to provide those supports, even though we haven't specifically touched on them. I think that you'll see that over time, when we are able to talk about them, that the ways in which we have helped and will continue to help. But I echo Shalimar's sentiment. The Broad Street line has been a incubator for violence, school violence specifically, for years. And so I remember in the 90s going to high school, and there will be children, you know, predators, you know, there would be children exhibiting predatory behavior for other students, regardless of the race. And so I think we have to keep in mind that violence is a problem for Philadelphia. And as we see that with our gun violence, we see that all over, and the children are certainly not immune from that. So widening the lens, to your point, Commissioner Loren, is important and necessary, because there's so many different issues that are at play here, and none of which can be understated. So, but I think what'll be important for us is to connect back with the commission to let you all know and update you as we go through the process, to let you know and reassure you of where we are with it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Loren, did you just leave your hand up, or did you have another question? Just wanted to make sure.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. And thanks to all the commissioners for your feedback. I just love to see that, you know, number one, that the PCHR is on top of issues like this, and that our commissioners are engaged and thinking about how do we approach this with the most sensitivity and inclusiveness, and just for ultimate impact. So I appreciate all the comments that were made today. The sessions for December, Kia mentioned, to reiterate, the sessions for December will be held on December 10th. The executive session will be held on December 10th, and a public session will be held on December 17th. Readers for the month of December are Commissioners Alpert, Loren, and Austin. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? I see the motion made by Commissioner Alpert, seconded by Commissioner Zulfikar. All in favor? Everybody's hands went up. Have a great weekend and a wonderful holiday. Kia, I will definitely keep your family in my prayers. Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.